Hi there and welcome back to another pop-up video showcasing some scrapbook pages. I think this just might be a good idea to keep those who are interested more in my photographs and other stuff that I have pertaining to Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks than the vinyl. Everybody's been super nice and watching a lot of those videos and hopefully finding something of interest with all the 45 and vinyl videos. But I'm also continuously working on my scrapbook, as I had said last time. And so I just thought maybe putting some of these in here and there might be fun for those who watch. As I mentioned in the past, some things might be duplicate you might see again in the future, or sometimes you might see the pictures and be like, I remember those, but I've completely revamped the page. Before I get started with that, pretty soon coming up, I'm going to try and get back to a Saturday, Wednesday schedule, one or two videos each time. And pretty soon we're going to have part 16 coming up, which is going to consist of Lindsay and Christine's 1984 solo ventures. But before anything more about that, I did want to remind people that I have this giveaway going for this poster. I had brought this up on the 19th of April in my part 13 of 45s, and I asked people to mention there in part 13 in the comment section how many tries it took me to film the video, which was part 10 about the live album, the 45s from the live album. How many attempts? Which is ironic because this freaking video tonight, this little pop-up video, is I don't want to even tell you how many times this is taking me. Either the camera shuts off, or it keeps falling over, or I don't know what's going on. All the other videos for the 45s I've made have worked, but today it's just being funny. So let's hope that this one goes off and we can get through this one. So again, I have a lot of the 45 videos to do, and then I plan to go to the LPs. And by the time I get to that, I should be pretty seasoned, I would like to think. And so when I show you my scrapbook pages, you won't get quite the glare that you're getting when I show these, like the last pop-up in this one. I'm just doing my best. I just want you to enjoy them. But I am making a valiant effort to figure out, what kind of lighting or what I need to do to prevent that from happening when we really get vested into the photos. But without further ado, this was a page I made in the last week or so. I had mentioned in the last pop-up video that I have several piles that were made in the last couple months. I got a lot done over the Easter weekend and such in the last week. So this was a rock a little page. It's always a work in progress because I pulled out a record and I found this article tucked away in there. I don't know if I knew that or not, but it was a real pleasant surprise because I really like to put articles with photos. These are Herbert Worthington photos, and they are not originals. They're either gifted or probably right clicks just for my personal collection and just to scrapbook in my pages. And this little crease, I just can't get out of it. I tried, but I just couldn't do it. Pardon me, but this was a nice USA Today, April 14th, 1986, a real nice write-up on Stevie's Rock a Little album and the fact that she was going on tour. So that was a real fun find, and it was nice to find a positive review, especially for Rock a Little. On the other side, these were two new photos that I got. These are by a photographer named David. I'm not sure if it's Plastic or Plastique. It's spelled like plastic, but instead of a C, it's a K at the end. He only has these two photos he took of Stevie. I found them on Facebook. And Stevie Nicks was going into a club, and he was just there at the right time, right place, but could only capture these two pictures of her and wasn't allowed to go in. So he has some other photographs, though, of Lindsay, some of Mick, and I think he has a Rogue John picture. But these photos are very inexpensive, and I'll put his link if anybody's interested in getting them for themselves um, in the comment section of this video. But so yeah, I just got these about a month or so ago and finally put them on a page. These would be, again, Stevie's selfies. Technically, we call Stevie's selfies, which I'm pretty sure this one is a selfie, but by Herbert Worthington, because she was usually doing that hanging out with him. But let's just say they're by Herbert Worthington. But they could be by Stevie Nicks, because she did a lot. She had like a little Polaroid camera with a little push button thing and would take a lot of pictures of herself. Way before selfies were a thing. So these two photos, new Rock a Little era. Pretty sure these are Rock a Little era. Can't be sure. Some other articles that are pretty positive. This one's from the Plains Dealer, and this was June 14th, 1986. This one, not so much. This is from Cream Magazine. Cream Magazine was always snarky, and they were like the Onion of rock magazines back in the day. And another small little blurb about her performance on June 14th. So nice little Rock a Little page to add to the 1986 book when I decided to put that back together. Next up, I have a page for 1992-93's Out of the Cradle, Lindsey Buckingham. Photographs by Greg Gorman, who did the cover art. Nice little Japanese article. Can't read it. Hopefully it's a good review. This is just a standard advertisement for the album. This is very serious Lindsey, who is very, very serious after Mick's book had come out and he was no longer with Fleetwood Mac. He's very stern and angry, as he had every right to be, but it's a topic discussion for another time. I love this album. I am very, very fond of Out of the Cradle. And as you'll see in part 16, which again will be the next part, about 45's coming up, I'm really crazy about Go Insane. Go Insane and Out of the Cradle are my two favorite Lindsey Buckingham solo endeavors. He has a solid body of work, but I'm just very, very dear to those. These two photos were by Scott Garrity. I'm not sure what magazine they came out of. These were purchased on eBay. What I like about photos like this is this little piece of paper here, this little piece of paper, which you can see is the bottom of his chin here, and then this little piece of paper, which is also the bottom of his chin from this photo. A lot of the photos that you find on eBay or that I've come across in my years of collecting are archive photos from newspaper establishments or magazines, and those are going by the way of the dodo. So, a lot of things are finding their way on eBay. But what they would do is they would post these little pieces on the back to show that, like, this is the photo that's going to be used, this is a little blurb, and then that would get sent to the person, doing the layout and before it went to print in the newspaper or magazine. And when I like to cut these off the back of the photos. If I were just keeping a photo album of photos, I would probably leave them attached. And for value and sentimental sake, I guess maybe I ought to, but I just think it's more fun to bring these forward, so these aren't just languishing on the back of the photo unseen, and just kind of gives it more of a place in time and where it's been and how it was used and such. I believe these photos are, did I already say that, by Scott Garrity. And both of these photos, I think both of these photos might have been used in the same magazine because they each have the same date, and that is June 30th, 1992. So, just some really nice, rare promo photo shoot pictures of Lindsey circa 1992, 93, 92, 93. Again, now we have some by Simon Fowler. All these ones coming up here. I made these pages in the last week or so, inspired by the spring and Easter, because Stevie would call these, she got tired of being called a witch with all the black outfits she'd wear. So between her and her designer Margie Kent, they made her some outfits in pretty colors, blues and pinks and purples, and Stevie called them her Easter egg colors, and just really strayed away from black for a while. I wish she'd still wear some stuff like this time to time. Um, Anything she wears is gorgeous. Anything Margie makes is just freaking perfection. But yeah, these are some really pretty colors and outfits at the time, and some great live shots of the band. But that's also inspired my colors on the side and such here. So I inverted the colors for the other side to again try and pull the blue from over here. There's some little like kind of flowers on these. Just again, kind of a spring vibe. This one's a really cool shot with Lindsay really in the forefront and the band behind them. So again, photos by Simon Fowler, 1980. And these last two, though, however, are by Neil Preston. Now, these two photos look to me to be the same show. I could be wrong, but or around the same time. They're all definitely 1980. Pardon me. This one is cool because this will be again another story for another time. But a one of the finer moments of my life and just awesome times was purchasing a super large box of photographs, negatives, proof sheets, candids, clippings, a huge box of photographs. And amongst them were photos like this with these little tabs. And all these photos were used in Mick Fleetwood's hardbound coffee table book, My Life and Adventures, or anyway, it's the first book that Mick had come out, and it's mostly photos versus story. And so what it would do is these little tabs, they would stay here, and I leave them attached. Again, I just think it's really cool. It would say, like job number from to, like if you were sending it from Neil Preston to Mick Fleetwood or something, I don't know. And the size and the layout, like how big they wanted the photo, and then what page the photo was going to appear on. And I've got a ton of these, and they don't all add up. They're not always on the right pages and such. But again, it's just kind of interesting to me where these have been. These could have come from Mick's personal library. Neil could have fished them out and sent them to the publisher for consideration to be, picked through and chosen for the book. Who's to say? I don't know. But I have quite a few of Neil Preston, and I have a lot of original photographs by a lot of artists, a lot of photographers, people I would love to talk to one day, but just never seem to be able to make a connection with. So, if you see me, hi, and I'd love to talk to you about your photographs and such. Moving on, this says this I made like last night or the night before. I kind of like the textures and such up here. These photos I again bought from a photographer named Vernon Scheibler. He took these Fleetwood Mac in June of 1977, June 30th or something like that. 1977, when they were performing at Madison Square Garden in New York. Hot on Rumors, sold out show. And I bought from him a nice stack, a nice pile of, again, negatives, proof sheets, and some of the photos were printed out. So that's what these are. Some of these appear on the proof sheets or in the negatives. A couple don't. I just got rid of one, not got rid of, but sold it, that did not have a negative and was not on the proof sheet. But so no, these are quite lovely. And I also have, it's kind of cool, some of his receipts where he had sold some of the photos to the New York Times. And that must have been kind of a big deal for him. See, I like having this stuff because that guy, to me, I don't think was very proficient. No, that's not the right word. I don't know him. I don't even know that I bought them like from him. It could have been a family member or somebody who had him in a estate. But with research, I don't find that he had done maybe a lot of other shows. Maybe he went there and just did it as a hobby or something like that. But I would imagine that if I took these freaking awesome photos of Fleetwood Mac or any band that was huge in the 70s and were able to sell them to the New York Times to be published, that would be really cool. And I have all the receipts and little memos and such, and a letter and what have you, in the whole packet that I got that was pretty much all those memories for him. And I think I did get them from him. And I don't know if he's still with us, but it's just really neat. So those are those, and then these are two more of his works. This especially was used on the front page, showcasing Stevie, just in full power mode. This one is really aged. It's got some, again, when I'm able to show it without glare, it's almost like coppered. It's almost turned like a copper metallic. It's really weird. You can't really see it in the shine, but what looks like smoke damage or just yellowing isn't. It's almost like it's, I don't want to say calcified, I don't know the right word, but it's really pretty. But really great shots. So that's that. This is a neat little thing I have. This might be another giveaway because I believe I have a second one of these. A giveaway for another time, but you don't see them. You see them on eBay, but not too often. But this is really neat. Let's see if I can show this without it coming through. This would have been something in the comics in the 70s and 80s. This is somebody's drawing interpretation. I'm guessing 1982. There's actually no date on this comic sheet, but this is Mirage. Everything what they're wearing and how they are photographed. So yeah, this would have just been a poster. I have another one is Stevie Nicks from 1981. And this one, and they're the only two I've seen. Different artists, also I'm sure of that. But yeah, somebody had just done this really cool poster that would have been in the Sunday comics of Fleetwood Mac. They have their little Part 8 Superstar Daily News. And it looks like the artist is George Massey, Masi. So because it's so large, I just have it kind of folded over one of my scrapbook pages. So I kind of have it like, you know, page side one, and just kind of fold it over a piece of paper so I don't separate it. But I just thought that was a really cool little, you just don't see it very often. This was, I think I got this from a really cool new friend I made. Her name was Tracy. And I acquired a lot of stuff that was her mother's. Her mother was a huge fan of Stevie Nicks. Again, this will go into my stories and such. I'll try and keep this brief because I'll be talking a lot about it when I do get to scrapbooks. But the whole deal about all my books is just not just the photos and the stories, but I have a lot of items that belong to people's mothers or sisters or aunts or brothers or what have you. And I have that now. And it's just as important as the article. This just really is neat. And I didn't know that person, but I kind of do now, just in our shared interest and meeting the sister or brother or daughter of said person, and them kind of telling me how happy their family member, whoever had these items, were at having them, an autograph or a bunch of articles or something. And I love that. It's just really, I don't know, it just means something. And so all these albums together, it's a collective of that. It's not just my fandom. It's all these people I've never met, and many of them aren't with us anymore, and whose names I just know their names. I've never met them. I don't know the people, the children, brothers, sisters, friends, whoever who sold the items to me, except online. And anyway, trying to make that concise, but this was something that I got from them recently, which was a cool magazine, and I got a lot of stuff from Ohio because that's where they lived. So I received a lot of magazines from Ohio and articles. Um, and being that I'm from California and currently in Oregon, it's really neat for me because, you know, each state, certainly in the 70s and 80s, had free magazines that people would pick up. Of course, when Fleetwood Mac was on the cover, but in general. And so the fact that I have some of these from towns where, you know, especially free magazines would be tossed in the trash versus like an issue of Rolling Stone or something, and somebody kept hold of these, it's really important to me. And on the back of this, I'm not going to go into it now, but usually in the back, like between the pages, if it's 2 pages or somewhere in between, I'll have a little write up about how I acquired it, who from, and just their story as well. Um, anyway, that's the article inside that would have been with it. And this was not only the article, but then there's a little excerpt about her. She was in town, Christine McVie. What I would have given to have seen Christine McVie solo in 1984. I'm absolutely nutty for Go Insane and Christine McVie's self-titled album from 1984. It's just part of the whole 80s thing, but I really love those albums, and it's just really, really pretty picture of Christine. So that will go on my 1984 part Lindsay, part Christine part of my book. These are unknown photographer. These are acquired on eBay with the negatives. So these are pretty scarce. What's also really scarce is Stevie Nicks photos during Street Angel era. Um, and I'm very fortunate to have not quite a few handfuls, but a decent amount. And these are just some. This page is not complete. The other side is actually blank. But these ones here I received, I was able to get from another person, but through eBay. Sometimes people also aren't forthcoming or they don't care. They don't want to talk to me about these were my mom's or whatever. That's fine. I try and ask because I'm interested. But also kind of going back to the neat factor, for lack of a better old timey term, it was really hard to get a camera and do a concert in 1994. So the fact that somebody got a camera in and got these great shots of Stevie, who just really didn't like herself at this time. I think she was just stunning. But she'd gained a little weight. She had a lot of trouble with the album Street Angel in 1994. Um, she either checked in or checked right out of. I need to recheck my facts because that's not where my head is at right now. Um, Getting help, being dependent on certain opioids and such. And but I think she was just phenomenal in 94, just like she was every other time. But 94 is actually a little bit more special to me. I have some really great memories of those shows and that album, and but getting live concert photos of Stevie from 94 is kind of scarce. So these are really cool. But I have the negatives and the photos, but I don't know the artist's name. I probably do. I'm not sure. It could have been a buy where somebody just got them out of storage unit or something like that. That's, again, stories upon stories I have when it will come to photos. Um, these photos are by Linda Woods. It was kind of cool for me because I was able to, you know, it always mentions in a magazine article who the photos were by. And then I happened to have photos with stamps on the back, and I was able to kind of match them up, so that was kind of neat. Different shows, but I think around the same time. I think this is all, yeah, these are stamped on the back 1980. So this is a review of Fleetwood Mac in concert with Christopher Cross in 1980. And these are just random live shows. Again, Stevie in some of those kind of Easter egg colors. Pretty in pink, if you will. And this was a neat article sent from Warner Brothers about the release coming out for the 1980 album. It's kind of like a press release, but more like an insider letter. Again, at some point when I'm in the talking about the scrapbooks in more detail. I will also have learned to like scan or take a picture of this to put like picture in picture so that people can read or see these things because they're really neat, or I'll read them myself. Some are boring, some are all stuff we know, but some have some really interesting information. And I also have a lot of paperwork on the Nick's family and Mick Fleetwood's family and such, letters, so things like that. I really want people to be able to see and read for themselves. But just as far as pictures are concerned and scrapbook page made, this is kind of cool. We're kind of getting close. Again, talking about my friend Tracy, these she had sold some stuff on eBay, I want to say, and I got to talking to her, and again, like I said, her mom was a big fan, and I was able to acquire some more articles that her mother had in her collection, and I don't want to keep repeating myself or sounding so silly, but everything Fleetwood Mac matters. It's my collection again. It's a whole family of fans of the band, of friends and family of the band. I mean, it's a whole collective. And this young lady Tracy, her mother, I would have freaking loved, number one. And she had this really cool article that had come out in her paper, and it was about this gentleman whose name I just forgot, Todd Sharp, who's worked with Mick Fleetwood, and I know he worked with Christine McVie. He's just kind of a friend, a musical family member with Fleetwood Mac, not in Fleetwood Mac, but acquainted with. And she's the person who would have saved this article, like me. Like, it's exterior. It talks about Fleetwood Mac, it talks about Stevie and Lindsay and such in here, but a lot of people don't have things like this, and I never would have seen this article if it hadn't been for her mom. It is really interesting, and it's more focused on Fleetwood Mac because this page is actually Mick Fleetwood's, the visitor page. It was just really neat to read about Todd, the instruments that were used in it, what he and Mick had to say about where Fleetwood Mac was at the time, because I think this was 1982, thereabouts. 1980, yeah. So, they're kind of in transition. They were, well, as you well know, because I just went over the videos with the 45s, they had finished the live album, the tour. They took a break to do some solo projects, and before they collected back together to do Mirage. But yeah, this article, it's so random. It's so pertains to Fleetwood Mac, but like most people wouldn't have kept this if it didn't just specifically be about Fleetwood Mac, about Stevie, about Lindsay. You're getting kind of out there if it's about John, Chris, or Mick, which I don't know why, but whatever. So I loved it, and it's a great article, and again, something I would like to share, later when I'm able to scan it and have people read it. But it just really gave me a lot more respect for her mom because, again, she just was into everything Fleetwood Mac. And I was very, very grateful and fortunate that I was able to obtain it, to read it. I wouldn't have even known about it. And I think this one I had. This might have been an article out of BAM or something like that. This is a photo, an original photo. I have of Mick from my personal archive. Don't know the photographer. Unfortunately, nothing stamped on the back or anything like that, but an original photograph, probably more than likely in that big box of stuff that I had gotten, that I spoke about, that will be, again, talked about in more detail. So just a cool little Mick Fleetwood, again, 1980. But I was really happy to put the page together, and again, link on it, read the article, and wrapping up pretty soon. This was a cool page. Well, I grabbed all the wrong ones. I'm trying to make this video short. I talked about it in the last pop-up video, but again, another bunch of stuff that I got was by a prior manager of Fleetwood Mac, Gabrielle Arias. I'm not sure how to say her name. I've reached out to many people that were very close to Fleetwood Mac to try and obtain more information about her, which again are stories into themselves for another time. I have many. These 3 photos were from her, and this ticket stub were from her personal collection, her items, and she went on tour with them. She was their manager from, to my knowledge, from what I've been able to put together, from about 70, well, towards the tail end of Rumors, I'd say, through about 80, 81. And then she worked with Bob Welch. So when I last showed you those pop-up, in the last pop-up, and I showed you pictures of Bob Welch, also from her collection, it's because she worked with him for quite a while. But it's really cool that I had these photos from a magazine from Japan, and that I was able to kind of put them together with photos from her. This is the young lady here, Gabrielle. Beautiful, beautiful lady. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And then the ice sculpture, which was a really neat thing they had for them when the band got to Japan at a little party. This was one of Lindsay's ex-girlfriends. Yeah. And then this was one of Gabrielle's passes, or like train tickets or something like that. So it was really neat to like have something that you would have had in a magazine, and then have something from somebody who's like there, including photographs, and then be able to put a page together, put that all together, and kind of make a story out of it. More photos out of a magazine showed the band being in Japan, being honored, being tired as hell, I'm sure. There's actually another page to this because it shows Gabrielle with the band. It actually shows Gabrielle with Bob Welch, but like in the wings is Fleetwood Mac, because it's so funny that Bob Welch was there promoting French Kiss, I want to say, and Fleetwood Mac was there because, I don't know, it was time for Fleetwood Mac to be in Japan on tour, and I'm sure. And Gabrielle was probably just smack in the middle and just living it up because, you know, she'd get to hang out with them and Bob, who she seemed very close with everybody. But yeah, these pictures are adorbs with Stevie and the band. I kept using the word about them being tired in the last video, and or in a couple other videos, and you can see it in these pictures. They're spry and they're happy and they're smiling, but I can't imagine the jet lag and then the immediate like going to press conferences and smiling and drinking sake and possibly performing, because I think they might have been on tour. I don't think it was just a press junket. I think they were in Japan to perform. So, but yeah, this is really interesting. I'll have a lot more on Gabrielle. My hope is that there's one person left and she knows who she is. I don't think she watches my videos, but I'm going to try again and reach out to her. And I just, it's really hard for me to find information on Gabrielle. And I don't want like dirt. I just want to, you know, I would like to know like her birthday and such. Amongst all that personal stuff I had, it's really hard to find information about her. But anyway, I have a lot of pages like that where I was kind of able to piece together stuff that we've seen that you, as fans, know in your collective knowledge, like, oh, I've seen that in a magazine, or I have that picture, but then have her behind the scene pictures because she was there also, and put it all together. It was really kind of cool. To wrap this up, I've been going too long, I apologize. This is the last one, just another page. Oddly enough, more sheet music. I told you I'd kind of one of the last things I'd begun collecting or trying to acquire right now is sheet music. This one I've had for a while. But my infinite wisdom, I have a lot of outtakes from this photo session, and instead I decided to use these. Now I'm pretty sure these two at least she's seen Edge of 17, so that goes with this. But probably this page will be dismantled, even though I did it just in the last couple days, to find the rest of the pictures from this session to put because it would make sense. Or I'll just make it a nice adjacent companion page. Who cares? So anyway, this has gone a little bit longer than I meant to. Maybe I should start writing a script so I keep it short. Like I said, I just kind of like talking off the cuff because everything and every time. This video again took a lot of attempts, and I'm telling you, I started to tell something different every time, and it's just fun to have all that and talk to you about it. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, part 16 will be out this coming Wednesday, which will be the 2nd of May. So you have one more day after that. So I will bring that up again on the video for part 16, that you have one more day to enter for the poster. That'll close on midnight on the 3rd of May. And thank you for watching. Thank you again a bazillion times over for your support. I hope you enjoyed this pop-up video, and we'll see you next time. Bye.